Thank you, Beverly. Thank you to the entire Yom HaShoah Commemoration Committee, all of you who made today happen. Welcome to Congregation Kol Shofar. Welcome to my colleague, Rabbi Stacy Friedman, to all the friends and educators of this community and beyond. So now we enter this moment, Yom HaShoah. Well, when a Jewish child enters the world, when we formally welcome a Jewish child into the covenant, we rise from our seats. We are welcoming royalty. After all, if God is sovereign, the King of Kings, we are God's children, and therefore each and every one of us are princes and princesses. And so we rise to recognize God's image. And we recite the formula of Baruch haba, welcome, child of God, to the world in which God has given you, in which God has entrusted you. But how do we enter Yom HaShoah? Our day to remember evil and heartbreak and attempted extermination, the betrayal of recognizing God's image. Today, we are no longer in the Garden of Eden, which knows not death nor suffering. Instead, today, we enter into the knowledge of pain and suffering and death. Can we possibly rise in our seats, declaring God's majesty and the gift of the world of which we've inherited? I personally enter today, especially given the events since October 7th, in sadness, anger, and outrage. I am entering a world today where I feel defined as a Jew more than any other time. I am a man, I am an American, but today I enter as a Jew, Hineni. And I declare that I am a Jew, that I am a Zionist, alienated from many of my American brothers and sisters. I'm a Jew with full awareness on this Yom HaShoah, sadly so, angrily so, where I see and hear enemies explicitly chanting to rid the world of me and us as Jews. The chant in Arabic, from the river to the sea, is Min il maye lalamaye Palestine Arabaye. It rhymes in Arabic. From this water to that water, Palestine will be Arab, but was changed in English to the sea and will be free in order to rhyme, and we know exactly what it means. My entering today to Yom HaShoah is angry and sad because I feel deeply misunderstood and denied the full blessing of my Jewish identity. There are those who want us gone. There are those who delegitimize our Jewish state, hold us to a double standard, and who dehumanize our existence. And it seems that many in America and Europe can't seem to get their heads around this. As Jews, we have learned that not all cultures are morally equivalent. They just aren't. There's no modus vivendi to live with Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who has explicitly said repeatedly that he, along with his proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and others around the world, that they are undeterred from their goal of annihilating the Jewish people. And I see it's hard for many Americans to believe what they say, because Americans assume that the world is made up of people like Americans. But Yom HaShoah demands from us as Jews to believe and know what is hard to believe and know about humanity. What we don't have the luxury of denying, which is that murderous evil exists. And October 7th, and what October 7th demands us to know, that there are people actually who want chaos and civil unrest in order to achieve their aims, that they truly want children to die as human shields in war. We have to know, absorb this tragic fact. This too, we must never forget. And Yom HaShoah is not about Jewish education. It is a religious holiday. We will not solve the problem of the latest Pew poll, which shows that Only 45% of American adults know that 6 million Jews were murdered in the Holocaust, and only 38% of teens, that 12% are not sure it happened at all, maybe it's a myth, that only 43% don't know that Hitler came to power through a democratic process. That's not our goal today. Our goal is to ritualize our remembrance of the Shoah, which means to bring all of ourselves, our sadness with our anger. There's not one person that doesn't get angry, but the key is learning how to channel it in a way that it can at least be non-destructive and maybe even be constructive. And that's what today is about. And I must add that today I enter into a world where too many of our young people, the future leaders of tomorrow, maintain a childish understanding of the world, where the entire world and all of humanity is divided into merely two groups. This understanding claims that there's a permanent battle between the powerful and the powerless, the privileged and the weak, and by definition for them, the weak and powerless are entirely morally good, and the powerful and privileged, because they always seek to oppress the weak and powerless, are entirely morally bad. And so obviously, according to this misguided calculus, they should choose the side with the weak and thus the good. But they are misled, because it's precisely where they've aligned that Hamas, a definitively genocidal regime, and evil reigns and resides. Whereas for them, Israel and Zionists, and by extension Jews, are representatives of all of the evils of the world: colonialists, supremacists, wealthy oppressors, land thieves, baby killers, and pro-genocide. That we Jews have been saddled with accusations of all the world's ills and immorality before, with varieties of blood libels before. We must not forget. So today, the dream of Israel began in order to avoid a Holocaust, not as a result of one. Tragically, the world had to witness one before that dream could be realized. And over 75 years later, there is still work to further sanctify the reality of that dream. But I do not stop dreaming it. And today, I enter seeking to transform my anger, outrage, and sadness into a torch of resistance, the same torch that the partisan fighters carried, the torch of those who resisted culturally, maintaining their Jewish identity and symbols amidst the madness, and the torch of those who resisted spiritually, finding courage and joy and meaning in the practices of study and prayer and the values that have animated our people for thousands of years. And on this Yom HaShoah, particularly this Yom HaShoah, despite my anger and sadness, our anger and sadness, let us enter together with a collective torch of strength, a light of spirit and hope, and also a continued prayer for peace and coexistence to all and all who need it. It's my honor to welcome up Paul Schwartzbart.